Obviously, Microsoft is operating at such a scale that it's difficult to be super vertical specific. Which opportunities need to be very role-oriented or vertical-oriented versus horizontal?
We have immediately found ourselves starting to push into more business outcomes in order to prove the value. And there's a click stop between broad horizontal productivity, which is the tasks of information workers searching, creating decks, doing email, and what you describe as kind of vertical applications. And that click stop I'm finding is functional applications. The number one leading scenario for us actually happens to be customer support. It is essentially deflection, so creating some interesting interfaces up front to catch customers when they have questions and helping them not go to people, and then using the power of generative AI, that underlying GPT foundational model in our case, to increase throughput and efficiency of the customer support agents. We'll get to actually industry applications. Right now, we've got a lot to do, a lot of value to create within the functional space.
It seems like there's this spectrum, right, where on one end, a Copilot makes using an existing tool easier and faster. It's an autocomplete tool. And then on the other end of the spectrum, it's doing work autonomously for you, right? There's a lot of dimensions, among that spectrum. I'm curious how Microsoft is positioned to go from automating the use of a tool to doing work for you.
Yeah, great question. Let me start by saying I learned something in the process that, again, now is very intuitive, but I just wasn't smart enough. When I first saw Copilot, as we brought it together in those design sprints, I was just enamored, with that second half of the value prop. I was like, look, Ma, look what it can do. But as I tried to show that to the world, it was so new and it was so powerful. People had a really hard time kind of grabbing it. The phrase that I coined was we had to meet people where they were and take them by the hand to help them understand the art of the possible. So meeting people where they were started literally with where they were, which was in Outlook and in Teams. And we have, we've published numbers. Teams, for instance, we've said we have more than 330 million monthly active users of that interface. So we were able to grab them there and say, we can help you not attend meetings where you can just query the meeting. We can help you in meetings, do some things that are useful. But then we gradually, through the product, are trying to work them over into these other dimensions, as you indicate. In order to do that, reasoning over the data that Microsoft knows about your inbox, documents in SharePoint, that's useful. But immediately you find people saying, well, I have a task. I want you to, as an example, give me the last 3 months of sales data on this product line, plot a graph in PowerPoint, and put it together so that I can speak to it with notes. And it turns out Copilot can do all of that, except it has to have access to the finance data. So in order for us to move toward the right-hand side of your spectrum, where we're more process and automation oriented and often more outcome oriented, we've definitely had to really plug into other people's data. And we're still, we have the technical underpinnings to do that. And we're excited about that. We have a product called Copilot Studio that essentially works through plugins, connectors, and extensions. So we've done a lot of work over the last, 6 months or so. But probably the most interesting thing for me, Seth, is like the economics of it all. That's yet to play out. If you're SAP, if you're one of our other wonderful partners, they're like, hey, Jared, I love you, but this is my data. This matters a lot.
Right.
And so that's leading to some wonderful strategy conversations about, how do companies work together? How do providers work together for the benefit of the customer?
Yeah, that's super interesting. Another dimension of this spectrum from kind of Copilot to agent, automating the use of a tool versus doing work autonomously for you. One is this kind of data integration piece. A second I'm curious to get your perspective on is how vertical specific does it need to be versus horizontal? Obviously, Microsoft is operating at such a scale that it's difficult to be super vertical specific. So how do you think about the, which opportunities need to be very role oriented or vertical oriented versus horizontal?
Dogs, Seth, you're catching me. That's the question of the moment. But let me explain the dynamic of the market right now. Faster than I ever thought we'd get to on the left-hand side of your spectrum, where we're looking at kind of helping you use a tool, we've been able to prove out both by our own studies and with customers that you can truly save time. We're at the point now where we've claimed, hey, you don't have to be an expert Copilot user. Good Copilot users can easily save 10 hours a month. I have customers that are coming in saying, 10 is low. We actually found 13 or 15. So faster than I thought, people are getting to time savings. But the most fascinating thing that I should have, again, known in retrospect, but I didn't, is they're saying, but Jared, you give me 10 hours back for the average information worker. I don't know how to monetize that. It doesn't save me money. It doesn't make me any extra money. It improves their quality of life, but it's not on my OpEx budget. I don't know what to do with it. So we have immediately found ourselves starting to push into more business outcomes in order to prove the value. And there's a click stop between broad horizontal productivity, which is, the tasks of information workers searching, creating decks, doing email, and what you describe as kind of vertical applications. And that click stop I'm finding is functional applications, meaning what can I do for the legal function? What can I do for the sales function? What can I do for the support function? There's a lot of commonality across various industries, and we're finding a lot of success as we dig into those. The number one leading scenario for us actually happens to be in customer support. It is essentially deflection, so creating some interesting interfaces up front to catch customers when they have questions and helping them not go to people. That's pretty well understood. And then using the power of generative AI, that underlying GPT foundational model in our case, to increase throughput and efficiency of the customer support agents. And we've really seen good examples there. But that's the thing we're learning right now is, I think ultimately you're right, we'll get to actually industry applications. Right now, we've got a lot to do, a lot of value to create within the functional space.